There is a moment when you realize that no one asked you if you wanted to exist. You were simply thrown into this world, without instruction, without purpose, without a choice. From the moment we become self-aware, we are forced to confront an unsettling truth. Why am I here? What is the point of all this? For centuries, philosophy has been treated as an intellectual pursuit, something detached from daily life, something reserved for scholars and abstract debates. But for existential thinkers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Lev Shestov, philosophy is not an academic exercise. It's a matter of survival. It is the only response to the terror of existence itself. Sartre believed that existence precedes essence, that we are born as blank slates with no predetermined nature, and it is up to us to define ourselves. But this so-called freedom comes at a cost. When we realize that there is no built-in meaning to life, we are left with radical uncertainty, anxiety, and despair. Shestov took it a step further. He argued that true knowledge doesn't come from reason or logic. It comes from crisis, suffering, and despair. When everything we believe collapses, when we are forced to face the absurdity of life, we finally begin to see things as they really are. This is the existential dilemma. If life has no inherent meaning, then how are we supposed to live? How do we find direction in a universe that offers us nothing but silence? For many, this realization leads to paralysis. If nothing truly matters, then why should we even bother? Why not just give up? But for Sartre and Shestov, this moment is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of an awakening. There is a moment in life when everything falls apart. The beliefs that once gave us comfort, the illusions that shielded us from reality. One by one, they collapse. This is what Lev Shestov called the moment of groundlessness, the realization that nothing is certain, that the world we thought we understood is nothing but a fragile construct. Most people fear this moment. They fight it. They try to cling to old ideas, to rational explanations that provide a false sense of security. But Shestov argued that this collapse is necessary. Only when we lose everything, when we are stripped of every illusion, can we begin to see the world as it truly is. For Sartre, this moment of despair is not just about losing meaning, it's about gaining freedom. When we realize that there is no preordained path, no ultimate truth to guide us, we come face to face with the terrifying reality of absolute freedom. We alone are responsible for creating meaning, for deciding what our lives will become. And that realization is both liberating and unbearable. Many people never recover from this existential awakening. Some try to escape through distractions, ideology, or blind faith in systems that promise certainty. Others sink into despair, overwhelmed by the weight of responsibility. But for those who truly embrace it, something profound happens. They stop waiting for meaning to be handed to them and start building it themselves. Shestov and Sartre agree on one thing. Despair is not the end. It is the beginning. It is the gateway to a new way of seeing the world, one unshackled by illusions and false comfort. It forces us to ask, if nothing is given to me, then what will I choose to create? This is the turning point, the moment where we stop looking for answers outside of ourselves and start realizing that the answers can only come from within. When Sartre said, "Man is condemned to be free," he wasn't celebrating. He was warning us. The realization that we are completely free can feel like a gift, but in truth, it's a curse. Unlike objects, which are designed for a specific purpose, a knife is made to cut, a chair to be sat on, human beings have no predefined function. There is no script, no blueprint. We are born into the world as blank slates, And from the moment we become aware of this, we bear the crushing weight of responsibility. We must define ourselves through our choices. And that is terrifying. When everything is open, every decision carries an overwhelming weight. What if we make the wrong choice? What if we waste our lives? Sartre called this feeling the anxiety of choice, the moment when we realize that every action we take is an expression of who we are. There is no external force dictating what we should do. We are alone with our decisions, and we alone must live with their consequences. Shestov takes this even further. He argued that rational systems, whether scientific, religious, or philosophical, are created as a way to escape this responsibility. Humans desperately seek certainty, some kind of fixed meaning that will relieve them from the burden of choosing. But for Shestov, this is a lie. Any system that claims to define human existence is nothing more than a prison. The only true freedom comes from rejecting these systems entirely, and that's the paradox. Freedom is both what we desire most and what we fear the most. The weight of absolute freedom is too heavy for many to bear, so they seek comfort in predefined roles, ideologies, or beliefs that tell them what to do. But Sartre warns that the moment we stop choosing for ourselves, we stop truly existing. The question is not whether we are free. We are. The question is, what will we do with that freedom? Freedom terrifies us. It is easier to pretend we don't have a choice than to face the reality that we are the only ones responsible for shaping our lives. This is what Sartre called bad faith, the act of lying to ourselves, pretending that we are powerless, that our actions are dictated by external forces. It is the illusion that we are trapped by circumstances, that we are simply playing a role that was assigned to us. But in truth, every moment, every decision is a choice, even the choice to do nothing. Shestov saw this self-deception as a form of intellectual slavery. He argued that humans build entire systems, philosophical, religious, political, not to liberate themselves, but to escape responsibility. We cling to structure because it makes life predictable, because it removes the crushing weight of having to choose for ourselves. We tell ourselves that life has a predetermined meaning, that morality is absolute, that society has already decided what is right and wrong. But what happens when we realize that none of this is true? Sartre gives an unsettling answer. We are condemned to be free, whether we accept it or not. Every moment we continue to exist, we are forced to make choices. Yet most people avoid this burden. They live as if they are following a script, as if they are simply a worker, a student, a parent, a citizen, and nothing more. They embrace labels because labels give them a sense of security, an identity that they don't have to construct on their own. But deep down, we know the truth. We are not just our roles. The mask we wear, the persona we project, is not who we really are. To live in bad faith is to refuse to confront this truth. It is the lie we tell ourselves to avoid the terror of being fully responsible for our own existence. It is easier to say, "I had no choice," than to admit, "I was afraid to choose." But there is a cost to this self-deception. A life lived in bad faith is a life of inauthenticity, a life where we let others define us, where we surrender our freedom in exchange for the illusion of comfort. And in the end, we must ask ourselves, are we really living? Or are we just playing a role? So what happens when we finally confront reality? When we stop lying to ourselves, stop clinging to illusions, and accept that we are completely, terrifyingly free? For many, this realization leads to paralysis. The weight of total freedom feels unbearable. Without a predefined path, without a system to guide us, we are left alone in the vast, indifferent universe, forced to make choices without certainty. Shestov called this groundlessness, the terrifying moment when everything collapses and we are left with nothing but ourselves. But here's where existentialism takes a turn. This collapse isn't the end, it's the beginning. Sartre argued that if there is no inherent meaning, then we are free to create it. If there is no predetermined path, we are free to walk our own. And this is what truly separates those who embrace their freedom from those who hide from it. Some people retreat. They look for something, anything, to fill the void. Religion, ideology, identity, routine, anything that will tell them what to do, anything that will relieve them of the burden of choice. They let the world define them because defining themselves is too painful. But others step forward. They take responsibility, knowing that nothing is given to them, but everything is possible. Instead of searching for meaning, they build it. Instead of fearing freedom, they embrace it. Instead of waiting for life to hand them a purpose, they create one for themselves. This is the challenge of true freedom. To accept that nothing is certain, that no one is coming to save us, and that the only way forward is to become the author of our own existence. The question is not whether freedom exists. It does. The question is whether we are brave enough to face it.